So is Vikings Valhalla actually worth the watch, especially to those who are Vikings fans? Is it a series that really represents to the totality of what Vikings is? Or does it fall short? Does it feel like a money grab? I would say overall mixed bag for me. Really would. Um, for those who are new to the Viking series, maybe wouldn't recommend Vikings Valhalla to start off with. Definitely recommend the original. Original just had Lagertha, it had Rollo, it had Ragnar, it had all of these different characters that, you know, Floki, that you would be rooting for. I never found myself rooting for any of these characters in Vikings Valhalla. And again, this is one of the reasons why it was so long for me to actually review this series, simply because I just didn't really want to watch it. I'll admit, I was kind of burned out towards the end of Vikings. I thought after the death of Ragnar, I felt like that show was really missing something. And then, of course, towards the end, it got good again, um, but it never really recovered from the death of Ragnar. It really, truly didn't. Ragnar made that series. He was absolutely amazing in it. Um, that's the problem that I just feel about Vikings Valhalla. I feel like it is lacking that person that you would be tearful uh, if that person dies, and I never quite found that. Now let's go through some of the initial characters, the main characters of this show. Starting with Leif Erikson, he's got kind of an interesting story. He's coming from Greenland. His father's kind of got this really rough and tumble backstory, outlaw kind of way, and he really lives up to what you would expect a son of somebody of those standards to actually be. He's a great fighter, great fighter. But as far as him as a person, as a character outside of the action, not that interesting. Definitely not that interesting. Um, in the action scenes, he's great. Outside of those action scenes, he's very forgettable. You forget he's there. You're not really interested in the story. They trying to do something about like maybe his conversion to Christianity is interesting or something along those lines, or where does he fit in with the Vikings of Norway and those kind of things. And you really don't get an answer to that. He really feels like an outsider and not in a good way. He feels like someone that doesn't belong with the rest of them. And in that way, while everybody else is doing their own thing, he's not really got a path. You got Harold, he's wanting to be, king. You've got, Freydis trying to make her way, being a shield maiden. You have all of these other paths of these main characters that are kind of converging, and then you've got him, and you're like, where does he go from here? He feels more like a Floki character, in not in the way that he was as interesting as Floki, but in the way that he is. He's good on a boat. He's a someone that's an explorer more than someone that is looking for cash or glory of any kind of way. And I just feel like that's something that maybe they can expand upon in the future. And of course, they will, when he comes over here to America. But at the same time, as for right now, I feel like every one of the main cast members is kind of working within that own world, and he's kind of outside of it. And his story just didn't flow with me. Now, as far as probably my favorite character in the show, Harold Sigrenson, I loved the compare and contrast between him and his brother Olaf. I thought both of them did a great job. I thought Olaf had just that way of being a villain, but not someone that you just absolutely totally despise. So to a certain extent, when he's on screen, you're like, oh, not that guy again. He had a certain charisma to him And I love the interactions between him and his brother. You don't really know who's betraying who. To be honest, they're both kind of betraying each other, trying to, of course, Harold. I mean, uh, Harold is wanting to be king. Olaf is king, and you kind of get that slight, maybe a generic version of, Rollo and Ragnar, simply because one's got something the other wants, and one kind of feels left out at the end, and is going to have to maybe betray his brother in order to get what he wants, and that could be an interesting dynamic moving forward. And I will say this, Harold brought all these characters together for me. He made Leaf more interesting, even though even that was slightly, especially when they were in their action, and he made Freydis interesting to me, when they were together, trying to figure out where their love story is actually going to go. So I enjoyed his character. His character is definitely someone I'm rooting for. Hopefully he'll make it to season two. I'm almost assured he will. With him and Freydis, going off in the sunset and surviving the attack at the very end. But Freydis is the one. Her story started off really cool. I really enjoyed her story at first. She was on that mission to get revenge. That was really cool. I thought that was going to take up all of season one. It did not. She finished it by what? Episode two, episode three. And then her character just kind of got lost a little bit. She went from being a prisoner to set free to all of a sudden, being chased by this Christian, I don't know what they were, Christian Viking mob or army. And that's where it lost me. It lost me in a lot of ways because I'm like, the leader of that cult army really had an obsession with Freydis, and I didn't really feel like they were adversaries. There wasn't enough past between them. Of course, he had killed someone that she loved, but as far as those two really having it out and being, that protagonist versus antagonist situation, I just wasn't feeling it. I just was not feeling it. I didn't enjoy his character, that cult leader's character, and it made me not enjoy hers as well. Now I'm glad she become a shield maiden. I'm curious as whether or not they're going to go more towards the Lagartha kind of role with her. Seems like that could be the case, especially if she becomes, or, with Harold vying with his brother Olaf for, kingship. She could be the thing that the betrayer of both to a certain extent. She could be the one that rises up and actually becomes queen in that regard. And I would be totally cool with that. I would be cool with seeing a storyline that moves that way. But I thought if they would have left the cult leader and her kind of having this mutual hatred towards one another, I felt like that would have made a more interesting storyline. Now, as far as King Knut, his character, you can tell he is going to be evil in some form or fashion. You just don't know how. You know that he's really he's willing to stab people in the back. He's really willing to do horrendous things, but he's kind of charismatic about it. So you don't know exactly what his character is going to do next. Is he going to go off the rails, or is he going to be, full of composure and maybe lean upon a character that you like that makes you like him? I don't know. I'll admit I kind of enjoyed towards the end of the show when he was left out, and it was his ex-wife or his wife in Denmark and his father. I thought his father was amazing in that. I don't even remember, a Forkbeard, I think was his name. He was a really fun character. I hope moving forward we get to see more of him. To me, he's a lot better character than what Knut ever was. Knut's, like I said, he's interesting. You feel like he's menacing, but you don't know. You feel like that's a guy that's going to have to hit a breaking point before he goes full villain. Where you've got that, his father, I think his name was Forkbeard, but you've got his father who He can be evil and he can be ruthless, but he can do it in a really entertaining way. He's a villain you root for, and I love that aspect of it. And I also enjoyed I can't even say her name, Queen Gifu or whatever her name was. That was King Canute wife. She actually made a really interesting um, kind of antagonist to Emma throughout this season, and I did enjoy that overall. But I would say when it come to the main characters, um, it's kind of going with the same themes. It's going to the same themes as what it did in Vikings. Um, Not to say, I mean, there was some things that I loved and there was some things that I hated. Definitely feel like they're going more towards the less towards the realistic Norway and more towards what 2022 Norway might look like, those kind of things. And you know what I'm probably referring to when it comes at the casting of it. I felt like when you look at it, you're like, probably didn't happen in Norway, but I can live with it. I can live with it in this show. That part doesn't irk me so much in this show as I was more interested in other things for it to actually bother me fully and totally. But if you do look, at the Vikings all together, you will look at it and you'll go, that probably didn't look that way. Like, I mean, that's just the way I look at it. And of course, it's 2022; they have to do that. Totally get it. But it's still, I don't know, pointless to me. But I thought these characters were put into situations and stories that made even ones like Leif Erikson, who I didn't really think was an interesting character, put him in situations where that it made his character bearable, at least to a certain extent. And same goes for Freitas. I feel like maybe once their storylines ends and it's just those characters, maybe just being themselves for a while, that might get a little irritating. But overall, I'm content with it. I'm content with it. Eager to see if they make a season two, what that season two is going to be like, and what this show is going to be moving forward. I don't really know who the villains is. I don't really know who the heroes are. I know who they're pushing to be the heroes and the villains, but I feel like there's more to this story that we're going to actually get to see. Of course, I really thought that we were going to get to see that boy king actually get to be Prince Edmund. I thought we were going to get to see him more in season two, but of course that's ended. But overall, I would give this show maybe a 7, 6, 7 out of 10. Definitely, if you're a Vikings fan and you want to continue on with that franchise, give it a shot. But if you're someone that's new to this, probably check out the original before you do this because I feel like the original is just head over heels better. Even maybe in the worst of days, I felt like it was better than what we saw in Vikings Valhalla. Of course, this is Netflix. What can you expect? Really wish there would have been more episodes to it. I think overall, I think there's about 8 or 9 episodes of this. I could be wrong, but it's definitely not, the amount of episodes that, I would be expecting in it. Let's just put it that way. But overall, guys, let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Did you enjoy Vikings Valhalla? Was there something I missed in this review? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, thanks for watching. And guys, if y'all enjoy this video, please like, subscribe, and leave that comment down below. Check us out on Minds and also check us out on Rumble as well. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Y'all take care.